Ladies and gentlemen, I just watched something that absolutely floored me. Alan Dershowitz is an American scholar of the Constitution of the United States, and he had some very alarming words to share about forced vaccination. To weigh in on this, we have constitutional law attorney Jenna Ellis, who's a part of Trump's campaign as well as personally on his team. She's an expert in constitutional law. She's also a part of the Falkirk Center with me. Jenna, so glad to have you on with me today to give us an explanation of what Alan has to share. Now, I shared this video with you yesterday, and let's just show the video really quick so it's fresh in your mind and so that all of our viewers know exactly what it is that we are talking about.
Put it very clearly, you have no constitutional right to endanger the public and spread a disease, even if you disagree. You have no right not to be vaccinated. You have no right not to wear a mask. You have no right to open up your business.
Wait, can I stop you? No right not to be vaccinated, meaning if they decide you have to be vaccinated, we have to be vaccinated?
Absolutely. And if you refuse to be vaccinated, the state has the power to literally take you to a doctor's office and plunge a needle into your arm. If the vaccination
Where is that in the Constitution?
If the vaccination is designed to prevent the spreading disease. If the vaccination is only to prevent a disease that you will get, for example, if there's a disease that will kill you, you have the right to refuse that, but you have no right to refuse to be vaccinated against a contagious disease. Public health, the police power of the Constitution, gives the state the power to compel that, and there are cases in the United States Supreme Court.
Wow. Jenna, there were some very alarming things in there. As a constitutional law attorney, is what Alan Dershowitz just shared factual?
Well, so Alan is getting way ahead of himself when he frames it as first an absolute. Well, there's nothing in the law really that's absolute. It always depends on the specific facts and circumstances. But also he's approaching this as saying you have no right. You have no right. That is fundamentally not how we approach constitutional law issues. The question here is, does the government have the power? That's the question. And he is right that there are some cases back to 1905 that do suggest that the government in some instances can regulate a mandatory vaccination. However, the medical science on this and whether or not the current composition of the Supreme Court is going to uphold that particular argument and say that yes, if state and local governors wanted to implement a mandatory vaccine, we're going to go ahead and allow them. That's going to turn on whether or not the science is backed up in a vaccine, what effectiveness rate it is, if there's any sort of particular harm that may or may not be associated with the vaccine. So all of these are still open questions. And I think how he frames it is really more of a fear-mongering, in all honesty. And this is unusual for Alan Dershowitz. But my concern really, David, is that when we know that President Trump has been for personal liberty and freedom, he is for federalism. He has never said anything about having the federal government require a vaccine. So my concern is whether the state and local leaders are going to require it in their states and make it mandatory there. And so the question will be whether or not they have the power under not only the U.S. Constitution, but the state and local provisions. And that's going to depend on the state. So I think that that's really the more appropriate question. And certainly we as Americans fundamentally need to challenge this if it reaches that level.